What's up, guys? How's it going? Hello. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tommy McAndrews. I'm a sophomore here at Mizzou, and I am a business major with an emphasis in marketing. That's really all you need to know about me, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, I know it's been a while since we've been here. I hope you guys had an awesome Thanksgiving break. So I want to start us off with just talking about what we're talking about this series. Because I don't know about you, but I had a lot of food over break. So I was kind of in a food coma, forgot everything before break. So we're going to kind of refresh. So if I can get the prayer up here, I'm going to read this to start us off. Oh, that you may truly bless me and extend my boundaries. May your hand be with me and make me free of misfortune without pain. And God granted his prayer. So the first week of this series, we heard a talk from Renee. And Renee talked about blessings and kind of where we can look for them, and that sometimes we're going to find them in really small places. And I think that's really cool because Bruce Wilkinson wrote a book called The Prayer of Jabez, which is kind of where we form these talks from. And he talks about how God has like a box of blessings with your name on it. And he wants to throw all of them at you, but unless you're willing to ask for those blessings and then like look for them, you'll never receive them. And so that was huge that she talked about that. Sometimes there are places where you wouldn't expect. So that was really awesome. And then after you see these blessings, we have to extend our boundaries. And Father Greg talked about extending our boundaries and stepping out of our comfort zones and not being complacent. But here's the thing, that's hard. Like that's not supposed to be easy, and that's really scary. But what we can do is we can take those blessings that Renee talked about, and we take those into extending our boundaries, because it's so much easier if we do it that way. So that was awesome. And then Blake gave an amazing talk about how God's hand is with us through that. So yeah, it's scary. It's not easy. It's really hard. And like the extension of your boundaries could be so big and you could be so scared, but like you have to realize that God's hand is with you through that. And especially when things are really good. I've noticed that where like I'm leading a Bible study and my guys are great. Like I have 3 disciples, they're awesome. And like I could look at all this and be like, wow, I'm doing great things here. But I have to step back and realize that God's hand is through all that. Like he brought people into my life to get me to this point. So we have blessings. We extend our boundaries. And then Blake talked about how no matter how hard it gets, no matter how good it gets, that God's hand is guiding us through that. So that's kind of what we talked about. And so tonight I'm going to talk about make me free of misfortune without pain. I don't know. It's kind of scary talking about this because sins and temptations are so real in our life. And Bruce Wilkinson, he opens up the chapter of this part with this. So you're in a Coliseum. There's a gladiator fighting a lion. We go into the scene where the gladiator has dropped his sword, and as he goes to pick it up, he looks up, and the lion's charging at him. Now, I'm guessing you can all kind of see where that goes. It's not going to end well for the gladiator. And so what he compares that to is that we must wake up every morning and pray that God's going to help us get through sins and temptations. Now, that's not to say that, like, you pray for it, and then you're never going to see a sin or temptation in that day. But what it's saying is that, like, in the heat of the battle, if you've prayed about it, if you've trained and been ready for that battle, it's going to be a lot easier to get through than if you just go through your day, look up, and that line's coming at you. Like, you're done. There's no way to fight that. And so I think that's a really cool, just like kind of imagery to look at it. And so when I heard a talk that was a lot like this topic, they gave a really cool analogy, and that was of a boxer. So I know a lot of you have probably heard the name Floyd Mayweather before. If you haven't, he's a professional boxer. He's kind of in retirement now, but if people challenge him to a fight, he occasionally comes out and fights. And so I'm just going to talk about this a little bit. So boxers generally fight 2 to 3 times a year. So about every 4 or 5 months. So they'll fight, they get about 3 weeks to recover, and then they train rigorously for 4 months, every day until their next fight. So just kind of to go over what that looks like, I'm going to take you guys through a day of Floyd Mayweather's training. So let's see, what does he do? All right, so he shadow boxes. He spars between 7 to 12 rounds, works the heavy bag for 20 to 30 minutes, floor work, pad work, bodysuit work, speed bag, neck work, and about 5 other rounds of workouts that probably takes about 2.5 hours, and then he ends that with a 5 to 8 mile run. That's every day. I don't even run, guys. Like, it's freaking ridiculous. And so, and a little random tidbit, so like after this workout, obviously he needs like a pretty good meal. He has a personal chef who prepares this meal. It is $1,000 for that meal. Like today, I got swiped into Dobbs and then had chips and dip for dinner. And this guy's dropping $1,000 on one meal. Ridiculous. But that's not the point, sorry. Anyway, and so what's so crazy about this is that Floyd Mayweather is 50-0. Like the dude hasn't lost a fight. But yet he's so willing to just do all that training just to win one more fight. And I don't know about you guys, but like for me, if I was 50-0, like first off, I wouldn't fight again. But like I wouldn't train that hard for the next fight because I'm like, I'm freaking good at this. Like I don't need to. But like he said in an interview that if he takes one day off, that is more chance that he loses that next fight. And the person that he's fighting is gunning for him because he hasn't lost. So the guy that's fighting him is like, I'm going to hand him his first loss. And I know for me, when I'm doing really well in my faith life, like when I'm up there, like, and things are going well, for me, it's really easy to take a day off. And it's like, I'm doing fine. Like, I don't need to work hard. I don't need to, like, go to that extra mass that I talked about going to. But the thing is, like, Satan and the devil loves that. Like, he's gunning for us. And, like, the thing is, Floyd Mayweather, like, boxers, they get 3 weeks of recovery and 4 months to fight. We don't get that. We don't get 3 weeks to recover. We don't get 4 months to train for what's to come every day. We wake up every single morning and we are attacked on a daily basis. And if we don't do something about that, if we don't train and like get ready for that, then we're gonna lose every fight. Like we're not gonna be undefeated. And honestly, that's just like, that's so scary. And that's really crazy to think about. And the thing is, I heard this in a talk one time, and I don't know who said it. I don't know where it's from, but it has stuck to me ever since I heard it. The closer we get to the foot of the cross, the closer we get to touching Jesus' feet, the harder we are attacked by the devil. The harder that Satan just comes after you. That scares the heck out of him. The fact that people are getting this close, he hates that. So like if we take a day off, he's going to take advantage of that, and he's going to grab you by your heels and pull you away. And so I know that sucks. And I know that's scary to hear. And when I was going through his talk and when I was praying, I was like, how can I stand up there and tell them that this is the reality? But the thing is, Pope Francis actually said this in a homily. He says this, he says, Jesus died on the cross for us. When he did that, he won the battle. There's no battle left, it's won. But we have to wake up every single morning and decide that we're going to be on his team. Like, why wouldn't you want to be on the winning team? It just like, it makes so much sense, but like, it's easy to lose hope. But if we pick his team, the battle is already won. And so, yeah, I know I'm talking about the spiritual warfare and how we have to train for it. And I don't know, when I was thinking about it, I was like, I could get up there and tell them what I do on a day-to-day basis. But like, honestly, if I did, guys, I'd be feeding you a bunch of BS. Like, you would all be in a lot of trouble if I was like, oh, I do this, this, and this. I don't have it figured out. And I don't think I'm supposed to yet. So I'd be doing you a disservice to tell you this is what I do. So I started looking at the church. I started looking at who in the church is the closest to the foot of the cross. Who's got his hand resting on Jesus' foot? It became pretty apparent pretty quickly. It's Pope Francis. Like, the dude is the leader of the biggest organization in this world. Like, he has got to be attacked so hard. And so what I decided to do was I wanted to look at his schedule. Look at what his day looks like and see how much he prays to train for this fight. It blew my freaking mind. Wakes up at 4:30 in the morning and prays 2 hours right off the bat. So he prays for an hour, and then he reads the scripture for the day and gets ready for the homily that he does at daily mass at 7. So he does that, he does the mass, and then this was really cool. So the people that go to that mass, they know if they stick around afterwards that he's going to make his rounds and pray with you. So from 4:30 to 8:30, he's in prayer. So after that, he goes to breakfast, and then the rest of his day has Pope duties in it. I have no idea what those are. I couldn't imagine. But yeah, so then an hour before dinner, he spends it in adoration, goes to dinner, and then he said this in an article that every night at 9 o'clock he's in bed. So every night at 9 o'clock, reads for an hour, and then 10 o'clock lights are out. He said if lights aren't out by 10 o'clock, he's pissed, essentially. Okay, I'm sorry, Pope Francis didn't use the word pissed, but I figured it out. Anyway, so doing the math, that's roughly 5 hours of prayer. Even going a little bit further, 5 hours is roughly 20% of his day that he is spending in prayer. I know for me, I really struggled with my prayer life last year and at the beginning of this year, and what I kept hearing was, well, give him 15 minutes. Give God 15 minutes of your day. That's 1%. So the Pope, who's got way more responsibility than I ever will, is giving 20%, but I'm making excuses not to give him 1%. That has to change. Like, if that doesn't change, then I don't know what I'm doing. Because, like, I have no reason to argue that, like, I can't give more than that. So this is an excerpt from a homily that Pope Francis gave 2 years ago. It's going to actually be behind me, so I'm going to get out of the way so you guys can read along with me. But yeah, just follow along. All right. From who do I have to defend myself? What must I do? Paul tells us to put on God's full armor, meaning that God acts as a defense, helping us to resist Satan's temptations. Is this clear? No spiritual life, no Christian life is possible without resisting temptations, without putting on God's armor, which gives us strength and protects us. St. Paul underlines that our battle is not against little things, but against the principalities and the ruling forces. In other words, against the devil and his followers. But in this generation, like so many others, people have been led to believe that the devil is a myth, a figure, an idea, the idea of evil. But the devil exists and we must fight against him. Paul tells us this. It's not me saying it. The word of God is telling us this. But we're not all convinced of this. And then Paul describes God's armor, in which are the different types that make up this great armor of God. And he says, so stand your ground, with truth a belt around your waist. The truth is God's armor. All right, so when I first read this, the one word that I couldn't say to save my life was principalities. But after talking to some people, like Augustine, about what principalities was, so there's 9, levels of angels. And principality is the 5th out of those 9. So a pretty powerful angel. So Lucifer, obviously we all know Lucifer, Satan, used to be an angel. And when Lucifer and the rest of the angels, rebelled against God and were thrown out of heaven, so I guess I should start with this. Lucifer when he had his angels, he was given a gift. His gift was the bearer of light. So his sole purpose was to bring light to the world. Well, when he was pushed out of heaven, that was reversed. So then Lucifer's main goal was to bring darkness in our lives. It was to attack every single one of us and take us away from God, who is the light. So that's freaking scary. I hate that. And there's some hope in that, though. There's 4 other levels above him that we have as angels. And it goes back to what I said. Christ has already won the battle. So, there's hope in that. And then with that, he talks about this. The Catholic Church, we've become complacent. Now, I'm not saying the whole church as a whole has. I'm not saying everybody in this room has. But I have become complacent. I've convinced myself that the devil doesn't want me, that I'm such a small fraction of this faith that why would he come after me? I don't matter in that equation. And I've become lukewarm in that. So we can't become lukewarm. And in Revelation 3:16, it says, so because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. Wow. The first time I heard that, I was freaking confused. I was like, what? Lukewarm is much better than ice cold. Nope. No, it's not. So he says this. If you're ice cold in your faith, if you just don't want anything to do with it or you don't know what it is, there's a chance that you can be at adoration. Or you can encounter someone who's so on fire with Christ that you can be like, I want that. What is that? And you can find that, and then you can be on fire in the faith. People that are on fire, people that are reaching for the cross, like Pope Francis, he just wants to get closer. So God's not worried about the people that he can convert, and he's not worried about the person that just wants to get closer to him. Someone like me, for the longest time who was lukewarm, I was going to Mass. I was going to my youth group. I was doing everything right, so I figured I was already there. And there wasn't I was going to lose sight of the faith. It's not I was going to run away from the faith. He spits me out because I got so complacent and believed that I was doing the right thing. And this was the gross imagery that he gave me that I'm going to stick in all your heads, too, since it's stuck in mine for the last 3 years. The devil loves lukewarm water. Once Jesus spits you out, the devil drinks you up. What? That's horrible. I hate it. But it's true. He sees that we're lukewarm, and he sees that, we are so convinced that we're doing the right thing that the minute we think that, he just comes in. Guys, we are in a constant tug of war between Jesus and the devil. Imagine you standing with your arms out like this. I've got the devil pulling me this way, and I've got Jesus pulling me this way. I've got to pick a side. And that all starts with training. And I know that I keep talking about training, and I keep saying it, but I haven't given you guys anything to work with. We have a lot of sins and temptations, guys. They hit us every single day. That's what the devil does. In Screwtape Letters, if you guys haven't read it, I haven't read it, but I've heard great things about it. And I know one of the lines in there, there's demons. And so there's these young demons, and they're talking about how are we going to attack people today? And one of them is like, let's throw hatred in their hearts. Let's just fill their hearts with hatred. And then one's like, oh, no, let's make them prideful. Let's throw pride at them. And then there's an old wise demon, and he's like, no, let's just convince them that they have more time. Let's tell them that if they haven't prayed today, that they have more time that they can get to it later. If there's a sin and temptation that they're struggling with, let's just tell them that there's more time down the road to deal with it. And that is so true. And that's so scary. And I don't know what you struggle with. I don't know if it's porn or masturbation. I don't know if it's drugs or alcohol or if it's sleeping around. I don't know if it's gossiping or judgment or like body shaming. I don't know what that looks like for you. But we got to bring light to that. Like, you got to be able to look at yourself and say, this is what I'm struggling with, and I'm done hiding it. Because the more light we bring on that, the more we're giving it to Christ, and the more other people are going to be able to help us. Because if we hide it, we're doing what the devil wants. Lucifer wants us to hide that in the darkness, and we can't let that happen. So I think as far as training, as far as what can we do, because all I've talked about is we're being attacked. But there's so much hope, and we can look at Pope Francis in his daily life. He starts off with an hour of prayer. Then he meditates and reads the Bible. The Bible is amazing. I haven't realized this until I got to college, really. But like the Prayer of Jabez, Bruce Wilkinson and him and his wife pray this prayer every morning for 25 years. Ever since they've been married, they prayed it every morning. He doesn't find that unless he cracks open a Bible. Or somebody had to crack open the Bible to find that. So the Bible's awesome. Check it out. And then this is the kicker. Adoration. There is 9 hours here at Newman during the week that adoration is offered. We have it every week from 4 to 5. Thursday, it's 4 to 9. And then Monday night, we have power hour starting at 11:30 p.m. There's adoration. And then our reservation chapel is open as long as the building is. So it's open all day. So get to adoration. Spend that time with Jesus. If you spend that hour with him, that's like 4%. I'm not good at math, but I'm pretty sure it's like 4%. And like you're almost to the Pope. Like that's awesome. And so do that. And then he reads spiritual readings. Like for me, this was so cool. I can look at a guy like Pope Francis, or you look at a saint and you're like, wow, what do they have that I don't? Like, how can I get that? You read about their life. Just read about their life. Read about their conversion story. Because you'd be surprised at how much it relates to your life if you look hard enough. There's a saint out there that has gone through every single thing you have, but somewhere along the way, he or she said, no, I'm done. I want Christ in my life, and I'm picking that side. So I encourage you guys to read. It's a really great way to do it. And so with all that being said, find the sins and the temptations in your life. Find the way that Satan is attacking you and bring light to it. Find a training regimen that works for you. If you guys need help with that, talk to Focus Missionaries, talk to your friends, talk to the priest. Like, those are the guys you want to talk to. They will give you a training regimen that works for them, and you can try it out. And so tonight, we're going to get a chance for praise and worship. And praise and worship, to me, is like one of the best forms of prayers that we have. Because it can be personal, and it can be whatever you want it to be. So if you're not someone that likes singing, that's fine. You can sit there and just pray and just talk to Jesus or let him talk to you. If you love to sing, freaking sing your heart out. Just do it. Like, there's no wrong way or right way to do it. Don't look around at the people around you because it's going to look different. Rick Dickens sits in the back, gets on his hands and knees, and sings his heart out. Like, that's awesome. You guys can do that. You can lay down at the foot of the cross. You can kneel and just raise your arms up. If you want to sit down, do it. If you want to stand up, do it. But make it your own. Make it personal. And make it a relationship with Jesus Christ. Find that training regimen and decide that you want to fight with Christ, because that is the winning team. Thank you.